A reporter asks Mike Tyson if he's too old to box.
How do you respond to people who are critical about this fight taking place in the first place at all because of your differences, particularly your age?
Well, I don't see too many people critical about it. Look at this. Ha 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 ha.
She continues to demand an answer, but Mike simply asks if she or anyone she can name had a problem with his age. And of course, she couldn't answer.
People
Who?
in the industry,
Tell me who. Name somebody.
folks,
You? Who?
No, folks who say it. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Another reporter made Tyson even more angry. He first directs an uncomfortable question to Jake.
You want to be a serious boxer and you want to be a contender and be a title holder. So then, when in your career are you going to actually fight a contender in your weight class and not do gimmick fights?
But Jake cleverly ignores the question and reinterprets it as insulting Tyson.
Think he just called Mike Tyson a gimmick?
Mike Tyson's
Now, the reporter goes on to say something that causes Tyson to lose his temper.
or will be at the time of the fight, yes.
So
as
will
much
you
as I
fight him?
respect Mike Tyson
Will you
and
fight
his...
him?
What did you just call me again?
I didn't call you anything.
What did you call me?
I didn't call you anything.
At the end of one press conference, Tyson and Jake Paul faced off, but things got a little too physical. Tyson threw a joking punch before a more serious shove at Jake Paul, who just taunted Mike more. Jake eventually delivered his own shove. But now, let's hear Mike's plan for the fight and what he'll do to Jake.
But like you said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. What's your plan when you step into the ring with him?
And his reply is as short as it is terrifying.
I'm gonna f you up.
Now, in an earlier press conference, Mike also had something to say to the many people who, quite understandably, have speculated that his scheduled fight was scripted for Jake to win.
What do you say? Tell these people who keep saying that this fight is scripted for Jake Paul to win.
Well, just come to the fight and you'll see.
Mike simply invited every doubtful person to come to the fight and find out for themselves, indicating that he had no plans to hold back in the ring. After that, Tyson got a question from a fan that he was very pleased to answer. The kid wanted to know in what round he was going to knock Jake out, and Tyson had the best answer ever.
He wants to know what round you're going to knock out Jake Paul in.
As soon as he get hit, the first punch.
And while that may sound like a bluff, it could just as likely be true. The average pressure of a professional boxer's punch is 800 psi, but the value for a punch from Mike Tyson in his prime comes in at a crazy value of 1800 psi. Now, admittedly, his punches today won't likely hit that value, but it would still be enough to knock Jake out with one hit. They didn't call him Iron Mike for no reason. Again, during a press conference ahead of their fight in December, a reporter asked Jake Paul if he had any fear at all going into the ring with a legend like Tyson.
About him being able to knock people out. You say you got to risk it for the biscuit. How much, is there any level of fear stepping into the ring with an icon like Mike Tyson?
And to this, he gave the most daring response.
I'm not scared. No, not at all. Not at all. I was born for this. I was born for this moment.
But I guess we'll find out when the bell rings. But at the face-off they had at an earlier press conference, Jake Paul started trying to provoke Tyson.
It will be the massive, biggest event. Get on your feet, Arlington, Texas, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
He even did a gesture meant to indicate what he planned to do to Tyson once in the ring. Meanwhile, Tyson just ignores him. But there was one time Tyson made fun of Jake, saying he wasn't physically fit for the fight.
Be in shape, be in good shape, because your health depends on it. Stay in shape, be all right?
So in response, Jake made a training video where he seemed to be trolling Tyson with a bodysuit potbelly he wore. He was also occasionally snacking while training. Jake Paul made a comment in the video saying Tyson couldn't train like him, but Tyson had a response to Jake's overconfidence. In one interview with Fox News ahead of his highly anticipated showdown, Tyson was asked to give a comment on Jake's boxing skills, and what he said indicated he wasn't even slightly intimidated by a YouTuber turned boxer.
I think he's came a long way from YouTubing. And listen, I seen a YouTube of him at 16 doing weird dances. That's not the guy I'm going to be fighting. This guy's going to come, he's going to try to hurt me, which I'm accustomed to, and he's going to be greatly mistaken.
But unlike Jake's sarcastic training seen earlier, Tyson's intense training video sent a clear message to his opponent that he was not playing around, asking Jake to think carefully about his decision to get in the ring with him.
One more. Day 3, you still want to with me?
And Mike has affirmed several times that he was going to defeat Jake, like when he promised to finish him off in response to a question at a press conference.
Listen, I started Jake off and I'm going to finish him.
But what did he mean when he said he started Jake Paul off?
I started Jake off.
What do you mean you started him off?
I let him fight. I let him fight on my undercard.
Okay.
4 years ago. No one knew who the hell he was.
Okay.
Turns out Tyson was the guy who gave Jake Paul a major opportunity early in 2020 when he had just started boxing. Tyson helped boost Jake's visibility in the sport by featuring him on the undercard of one of his comeback events. Being on the undercard of a big-name fight, especially one involving someone as famous as Mike Tyson, gives lesser-known fighters a chance to gain exposure to a larger audience. In Jake Paul's case, Tyson allowed him to fight on the undercard of his November 2020 exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr. This helped Paul gain more attention and credibility as a boxer. But even Mike admitted that Jake had improved from when he initially started boxing. And during a podcast with Jake's brother, Logan Paul, Mike was advised not to underestimate Jake.
And I want you got to take him serious, Mike, because
I take him extremely serious. I take him extremely serious. These people don't take him serious.
No, they don't, and it's such a mistake because he's a real killer, Mike. Like, he wanted to be a Navy SEAL before he started boxing. Like in high school, he wants to be a Navy SEAL. He wanted to go kill people on behalf of his country.
However, that was clearly advice Tyson didn't need because he hadn't written Jake off like most other people. Jake Paul has a 9-1 record in professional boxing with 6 knockout victories. So even if he's heavily critiqued by other boxers and the media, it would be wrong to completely write him off against Tyson, and Tyson himself knew it. But Logan Paul had something else to ask Tyson concerning the fight. Some of Tyson's crew members had just arrived on the scene.
Let's go.
All right, always somebody comes late, huh?
Is this a squad?
Yeah, it's my squad.
Are they nervous at all for you, Mike?
Logan asked to find out how his crew felt about the fight.
No, they're nervous for your brother.
Really?
Yeah.
However, Mike Tyson's friends aren't the only ones who think Jake has bitten off more than he can chew. Popular martial artist and actor Michael Jai White expressed his own concern for Jake Paul in an interview.
People that's Mike's weight, with Mike's center of gravity, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop him. Mike hits him in the body don't move that much. I don't see how Jake survives a body attack.
But watch his reaction when he finds out the weight difference between Tyson and Jake.
Okay, I looked it up. Mike Tyson is 220 pounds.
That's 1 pound less than his optimal weight.
And Jake Paul is about 200 pounds. He's got about 20 pound difference.
Are you kidding me? He's only 200?
Yeah.
Oh, gee. It's worse than I thought.
That was his last fight.
And now his reaction when the interviewer brings up Tyson's age.
Tyson is 57. And, okay.
I don't care.
The interviewer next brings up the point that Mike Tyson seemed out of breath during his successful fight against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020. But Michael Jai White explained why it wasn't a comparable situation.
Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he clearly won, but he did seem kind of winded during that fight.
Roy Jones has skills that Jake will never have, even at that age. Jake's got a punch, but see, Jake has fought really tiny guys in comparison to him. Only Tommy Fury that I know of.
Back at Logan's podcast, Jake's father joins in and gets to speak to Tyson and makes it known he's afraid for his son.
Yeah, it's a fight. And this is the baddest motherfucker on the planet. So yeah. Hell yeah.
Ever.
But Tyson assures him that Jake would still be fine after the fight.
Jake, it's going to be okay. Be one piece. You get one piece.
But years ago, before the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight was even scheduled, Joe Rogan had asked Tyson how he felt being challenged by a guy like Jake. Joe suggested that it was insulting, but Tyson saw it differently.
When you get challenged by someone who's a guy like a Jake Paul, does that piss you off? Is it part of it that just like
No, it doesn't. I don't
No?
think. I think it's awesome.
You think it's awesome?
Yeah, I think it'll piss me off. I think it's cool.
You think it's cool? That's awesome. That's awesome that you handle it that way. Because, like, in a way, I mean, it's kind of insulting. It's brave, it's bold of him, but it's like there's levels to this world.
Tyson only added that he wasn't a guy to take himself too seriously.
You can't take yourself too serious.
Right.
I mean, the world will turn on you if you take yourself too serious. Who the hell am I to take myself too serious? Made all this.
And speaking of taking someone seriously, in this other podcast, Joe Rogan gave Jake Paul credit as a boxer.
If this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was like 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fucking fight. He knows how to fight.
So at least there are some people out there who don't take Jake Paul for a joke. But in this next moment is another fighter who had something to say about Jake and influencer boxers. In an interview with James Corden, Conor McGregor gave his thoughts on fights like Tyson versus Jake Paul.
But for me, it does set a bad precedent in the industry.
McGregor went on to advise young athletes like Jake to aspire for something more than low-stakes boxing matched for mere media attention and monetization.
Because what you've got now is, and I'll say this to the young athletes coming up, men and women, don't aspire to be, one of these like YouTuber fighters.
Right.
And
That's
aspire for world titles. Aspire for Olympic. That is how you rise. That is how forever. That is how you etch your name in history. Doing these little smash and grab fights, you might get a few likes, but there's nothing substantial to it. It's hollow.
Now, if you enjoyed watching this video, then click this video on screen next to see even more intense boxing clips.